Okay, so we're currently seeing a pretty intense cold snap across the UK, and it looks like the chilly conditions are sticking around for a bit longer. This cold spell is expected to continue ahead of Storm Bert, which is expected to hit the UK over the weekend. It's going to bring a mix of milder temperatures, strong winds, and potential flooding. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an eventful few days weather-wise. Let's start with the cold temperatures that have been hanging around the UK. In Scotland, for example, temperatures dropped as low as -6 degrees CY 2.2 degrees CF on Friday morning, which is pretty cold, right? And this isn't just a one-off thing. The UK is still under a weather warning for snow and ice in many areas. The freezing temperatures are expected to stick around. But the big change is that once Storm Bert arrives on Saturday, the weather will shift to much milder conditions. That said, the storm will bring some disruption, particularly in the form of winds that could reach 40-60 meter points/H, and possibly even higher in some parts of the country. So the storm's arrival will affect places like Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales, and Northern England. There's actually an amber warning in place for snow and ice in central Scotland, and a number of yellow warnings have been issued for rain and wind this weekend, especially on Saturday and Sunday. It's definitely going to be one of those weekends where you want to keep an eye on the weather forecast. On Friday morning, temperatures across the UK are going to hover between twerds and twiderds, which is pretty cold. Throughout the day, temperatures won't really climb any higher than 6 dirds that seem to assure you, so you can expect it to stay pretty chilly. For many, it won't be as frosty as it has been recently, but there's still a risk of ice forming in some places. Parts of England and Wales will also see some rain, sleet, and maybe a little snow, so be prepared for some slippery conditions. The more significant snow is expected in northern and western Scotland, though, so if you're in those areas, it's going to be a bit more intense. As for Friday night, things are going to get even colder. In fact, it's expected to be the coldest night of the autumn so far, with temperatures in northeast Scotland potentially plummeting to 12 degrees. That's pretty freezing. Elsewhere, temperatures will rise a bit after an early frost as Storm Bert begins to approach from the Atlantic, bringing warmer air. By Saturday, temperatures in Wales, central and southern England could climb to as high as 12 degrees Fahrenheit below zero today, which is a big jump from the cold snap we've been experiencing. So there's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to the temperatures, with the cold and milder conditions colliding. But here's the thing, as Storm Bert approaches, it's going to bring heavy rain along with those higher temperatures, and the Environment Agency is warning that this could lead to some localized flooding. In fact, the Met Office has already issued a yellow warning for rain across southwest England and Wales. This warning predicts that throughout Saturday, we could see 50-75 MER maximum of rain falling widely across these areas. And in some parts, like South Wales and Dartmoor, the rain could accumulate up to 125 inches. That's actually the whole of November's average rainfall in just one day. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on if you're in these regions. Now, while the heavy rain is a concern, it's not just the rain that's going to be a problem. Storm Bert is also expected to bring very strong winds, which could cause significant disruption. The gusts are forecast to be anywhere between 40-60 mph, 65 millimeters per second, which will definitely make things pretty difficult in terms of transport. We're talking about potential damage to buildings, trees being blown over, and even power cuts in some areas. So yeah, it's not just the snow and rain, the wind is definitely something to watch out for, especially in northern England and Scotland. The winds will persist through the weekend, right into Sunday and Monday, as Storm Bert makes slow progress eastward across the UK. This means that travel disruptions could last a little longer than expected. So it's a good idea to check your travel plans and stay updated on any weather warnings. Network Rail, for example, has already advised passengers to check their journeys before they travel this weekend, as the weather could cause delays and cancellations. Now, on top of the rain and wind, we're also expecting some significant snow to hit parts of the UK. There's an amber warning in place for heavy snow and ice from 7 GMT to 17 GMT on Saturday, which will be in effect for an area north of Scotland's central belt. This warning is indicating that as much as 20 ft of snow could accumulate on higher ground, which could lead to difficult conditions for anyone travelling in those areas. Yeah. Police are actually urging people not to travel on Scotland's roads during Storm Bert on Saturday because of the heavy snowfall that's expected. Definitely not a good idea to risk it if you don't have to. Met Office meteorologist Honor Crisquick has warned that Saturday could bring heavy outbreaks of rain, and at times this rain could fall as snow across northern England and parts of Scotland. So, even if you're not in the higher ground areas, it's still possible that you could see some snow, especially in northern parts of the UK. The cold weather and snow have already been causing some disruption this week. In fact, more than 100 schools across the Scottish Highlands were closed on Thursday, and about 30 schools in North Wales were also shut down. In Devon and Cornwall, nearly 200 schools were either shut or partially closed due to the snow. So, yeah, this cold snap has definitely had an impact on everyday life, especially in areas where the snow has been the heaviest. Earlier in the week, Scotland even recorded its coldest early winter temperature since 1998, when Braemar in Aberdeenshire reached a low of 11.2 degrees Celsius. That's pretty extreme, right? Definitely a reminder of how harsh the weather can be this time of year. And with Storm Bert coming in, it looks like it's not going to let up anytime soon. So, yeah, there's a lot happening with the weather right now, and it's important to stay updated if you're in any of the areas that are expected to be affected by storm birds. Whether it's the cold snap, the snow, the rain, or the strong winds, you definitely want to be prepared for some pretty tricky conditions this weekend. Keep an eye on those weather warnings and take care if you're traveling, especially in the worst-hit regions. Stay safe, and hopefully the weather will ease up soon after this storm passes. But for now, it's looking like a wild weekend.